What's up guys, my name is Carlos, thanks for tuning into the channel. And today is the big one. We're gonna be talking about the BORLA ATAK Exhaust system. We're gonna go over the specs for the exhaust, as well as all of the different audio clips that you can think of. Both inside the cabin, outside, passing by, you name it, we thought about it. We're also gonna look at how well it's endured after 18,000 miles since I first installed it. It's a fun and informative video today, so let's get started. So now that you heard at least how it sounds revving, when the MPP valves are open, that it has a very good throaty sound. It's very deep sounding. When you have the MPP valves closed, when you put it in quiet mode, it kind of has like a little bit of rattle from the MPP valve, and that's honestly a little bit distracting. I mean, it does kind of sound a little bit raspy, but that's kind of the point. It does remove that loud bass behind the exhaust note, so you're able to reduce the decibel amount. But it kind of leaves a little bit of raspiness from the MPP valve. I did notice that other people with the BORLA ATAK did say essentially the same thing. So yeah, it's something to consider if you're thinking about having in an actually quiet mode or loud mode. That in quiet mode you might hear a little bit of a raspiness, but it does sound significantly quieter as you're driving with it. That being said, again, I just only have the catback exhaust system. I don't have any mid pipes. I don't have any different kind of headers. They're all that's OEM stock. So what you hear is exactly what you would get if you just got the BORLA ATAK system. Let's talk a little bit about the actual BORLA exhaust system itself. So there's two different kinds of BORLA exhaust systems. You have the ATAK and you have the S type, which is basically like a touring. Obviously the touring version is going to be a little bit milder sounding, which is good for those that still want the aggressive sound but maybe not as loud. Now the BORLA ATAK is definitely loud. And for me, it has one of the most unique and deep sounding grunts that a C8 can have. And I think really BORLA knocked it out of the park when it came to that. Now for my C8, I have the BORLA ATAK exhaust system with the carbon fiber tips. And those cost me about $4,500 to actually purchase. There's two other versions also that you can have that are also the standard, which is just chrome tips, and then you have black tips that you can get, which are a little bit cheaper. And I'll have links in the description below so you know where you can find them. So after 18,000 miles, I did find there was a bit of wear on the actual exhaust system itself. The two main things that I saw was, one, the carbon fiber tips. At about 18,000 miles, they were yellowing and flaking and coming off. And it's actually something I talked to BORLA themselves. I reached out to BORLA as part of having the lifetime warranty on the exhaust system, and they asked me for some pictures of it. I showed them pictures of what I was looking like, and we went back and forth on what was the best solution, whether they should ship a whole entire exhaust system or just ship the new exhaust tips. And we ended up going that they shipped out new exhaust tips for the exhaust, which were really easy to replace, and like no problems in regards to doing a replacement. I didn't pay anything, which is great. And that's part of why I like BORLA so much, is because they stand by their products. Now, the other thing that I did notice, at least after 18,000 miles, that showed a bit of wear was the heat shield. The heat shield has a bit of the black paint over it that's been flaking off. Not really stopping the actual functionality of the heat shield, but it's something that I did notice, and it's starting to kind of look a little ugly in regards to that. I haven't bugged BORLA about that, honestly, because I plan to do a few different tests where I plan to take off that heat shield and see if I can get away with doing some other kind of heat shielding of the area, because I frankly love how the exhaust tubes are set up and designed, and I really want to showcase that. So we're going to look at trying to make a future video of that, and hopefully throw in some thermal imaging and see if, for your typical user that's maybe not going on the track all the time, if it's something that's feasible to do. You see a lot of these other exhaust companies that don't have such a beefy heat shield, so it makes me think that it's going to be something that can be doable. So when that video comes out, I'll have a link to that shown over here, but in the meantime, that's a future video that's going to come out. Now, check engine light. So the check engine light happened to me 3 different times over the 18,000 miles. Twice was near when I first got the actual exhaust system, and then one happened around the 12,000 mile mark after I had the exhaust installed. The first 2 times, the technician talked to BORLA and went through everything. So essentially what happens is that BORLA, in the catback exhaust system, designs their own NPP valves. Now, those valves use the original NPP servos from the Z51 exhaust system. Essentially what happened is, when I first got the exhaust system, it had to break in those valves. And essentially when the valves didn't move fast enough, it basically told the computer something was wrong with the servos because they didn't move fast enough. So essentially, once those valves were broken in and they were moving at the same speed that the computer was expecting it to, it stopped throwing those check engine lights. And honestly, it threw the check engine light at the 12,000 mile marker. It was something, actually, honestly, I didn't even have to go into the dealership to get reset, because it went away by itself. I did have it verified that it was the valves, but essentially it didn't give any kind of issues going forward from there. And functionally wise, the exhaust system has been working flawlessly. So it's something I definitely recommend. It's honestly if I had to choose one specific aftermarket mod to have on the car, it would be the BORLA exhaust system. I love this exhaust system so much. It's what makes the car for me. The wheels are great, the vertical doors, all that kind of stuff, but it's the exhaust system that I find so awesome to have on this car. And it's also honestly why I haven't done this product review yet, because I wanted to do a good job of it. So hopefully this is actually working out pretty well. If you like what you see, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, as well as clicking on that bell so you know when the next cool video drops. So for these other audio clips, I did have to find a different place, and thankfully Mike from Brick of Speed actually helped out and told me his secret spot that essentially is pretty clear and nobody's around that I could potentially cause issues with someone. So that's good. So thanks, Mike, on that. So that being said, let's go through the rest of the audio from the external shots so you can hear what it sounds like. So now that we've done all the exterior type shots and how it sounds from the outside, we're going to show you how it sounds when you're in the car itself. And we have the mic set up. We have my personal mic on me, also, as well as the shotgun mic. So we'll try to get genuinely with sound, as well as we also have a little decibel reader that I'll be looking at from time to time to try to see what the decibel readings are in regards to inside the car. So this is cold start. So right now it's set up in my mode, which has the MPP valves off. So idling in the C8, actually me talking is louder than how it sounds when it's idling. So we're looking at around like 56, 57 decibels idling while it's in with the MPP valves open. So let's take a look at how it sounds when it's in touring and idling. So we're seeing about 55, so it's a little bit quieter idling, but still 55, 56 is pretty darn good considering. Let's see, we're gonna go take a quick drive around and try to get some different kind of measurements. We'll first do it in my mode, which is set with the valves open, and then we'll do a bit of driving around when it is closed, and so you can see the difference between that. So essentially with the BORLA exhaust system, I noticed that if you have the RPMs set like under 2,000 RPMs, it's whether you have the valves open or closed, it's pretty quiet, which is pretty fantastic. Like, you're not really hearing it unless you're like trying to get on the throttle essentially, which is kind of how you want, and you're not really getting zero drone. So I'll just have it in drive for a little bit, just so you can hear how it sounds like when you're just cruising, and go from there. Valves open, you're seeing about like 70, 71 decibel reading. That being said, I'm talking louder and throwing it to like 87 decibels. But if you're trying to drive like just normally, you'll be able to have an easy conversation. I'm not even really talking loud or anything like that, and yeah, it's pretty easy to just have a normal conversation. And this is with the valves open if you're just driving normally. Yeah, just cruising. We're at 73 decibels or so not too bad with the valves open. So let's see what it sounds cruising if you have the valves closed, and go from there. With the valves closed, I always like to have the valves open, because I like just to hear it. But this is really, really quiet. I mean, it sounds like just a regular sedan. Honestly, the tires actually sound louder than the exhaust at this point. And so, with the valves closed, how I have it right now, I don't really hear the exhaust at all. There's no kind of droning. You can hear it. It's pretty normal. It sounds like a normal car. But if I weren't trying to push on it, like, you can definitely hear it. It's there. It's there. Kind of deal. And that's just with the valves closed. With the valves closed, so it's in the quiet mode right now. If I were to put it with the valves open, I mean, that's with the valves open. I changed it. I can hear it slightly when I'm just cruising, but yeah, under 2,000 RPMs, you just don't hear it. You don't hear the exhaust. It doesn't have any kind of droning, which is amazing that you can get that. BORLA really did a really good job with its crossfire technology in regards to how it's set up, that you don't get that kind of droning from this exhaust system. So it's part of the reason why I like it so much, why I have it on my C8 kind of deal. But if I were to, like, with the valves open in loud mode, if I were to put on the throttle, it's all there. And like, if I were like right there on the decibel reader, it read around 92 decibels. So you definitely hear it, and it sounds a lot more pronounced when you have the valves open as compared to when they're closed in the quiet mode. But even just with the valves open, you're able to have a normal conversation, like no problems whatsoever. And I'm doing about 55 miles an hour, but keeping it under the 2,000 RPMs. Yeah, for me personally, one of my favorite things is just shifting at around 3,500 RPMs. It just has like a particular sound when you do that shift, right? I absolutely love how that sounds. It sounds absolutely phenomenal to me. And go through the different gears to see how it sounds with the valves closed. It's kind of crazy. Even above 2,000 RPMs, when you have the valves closed, it sounds so quiet, which is pretty nice. You still get that particular exhaust note, but again, like the throatiness behind it kind of seems like it's gone, which sounds really good. How it would sound if you're on local streets kind of deal, but if most of us are going to be doing highway driving, so I'll get on the highway and be able to show how it sounds on the highway. About 80 decibels right now. Now I do have it in manual mode, so if I put it in the cruise, like let's say if I was cruising and just put it in drive, throw it down and give a few gears. So this is with the valves open, and we're about 78 decibels. And honestly, I don't even hear the exhaust right now. As honestly, I just hear more tire noise and wind than anything else. So that's pretty good. I mean, all considering, you're not getting droning if you're just cruising on that stuff. If you're cruising with the MPP valves off, let's change it real quick. So you're about 75 decibels, 74 decibels, and it's still pretty darn quiet. I mean, me talking is louder than the exhaust sounds. So you can definitely have a normal conversation on the phone or with a passenger and it won't be any kind of issue even at highway speeds. Even though I'm kind of a little stuck in traffic now, so I'm kind of going the same speed as I was locally. But the point being is that you won't hear the exhaust or hear like an annoying drone kind of deal if you're cruising and you're essentially keeping the RPMs under 2,000. Let's do it with the valves closed so you can kind of hear how it sounds if you open it up while we get on the highway. Good info that you need to know about the BORLA ATAK Exhaust system. If you like this video, please check out any of my other videos like this one here for your C8 or car needs.